Well, it's here. It's June 5th. We've been waiting for this rate announcement today from the Bank of Canada. We're joined here again with Josh. Josh, how are you? What's the news?
Doing
What can you
great.
share with us?
Well, you know what, Jay? Today's an exciting day. We've been waiting for this one for a while. We actually had a lot of the economists thought that this was going to happen almost a year ago, when in fact the bank a year ago increased its interest rate. But today, June 5th, 2024, the Bank of Canada, for the first time since it started raising interest rates over 2 years ago, has now indicated that it's done enough and it's now time to start lowering that interest rate. So the Bank of Canada's interest rate dropped from 5% to 4.75% today. Now, what does that actually mean for us as consumers? Because we don't get to borrow money directly from the Bank of Canada. This is a rate that it tells the banks to borrow from each other at. We use something called the retail prime rate, and we're going to see that drop now from 7.2% down to 6.95%. So if you have a variable interest rate mortgage, and unless it's at TD or one of the few lenders where the payments remain the same, you're going to see your mortgage payment decrease. If you owe money on a home equity line of credit or an unsecured line of credit, you're going to see the amount of interest that you need to pay on that decrease, not by a lot, but by 0.25%. And this is the first of hopefully many interest rate drops like that. This doesn't really impact any of you who are in pre-approvals for fixed interest rates. Fixed interest rates are impacted by something else I'll talk about a little bit later, but anybody in a variable rate is going to be happy about this, and this is the start of a trend of things heading in a downward direction. Now, is this one and only, or are we going to likely see more of these? Right after the announcement was dropped this morning at 7:45 a.m. Mountain Time, there was a press conference. And in that press conference, there's media, there are economists listening and paying attention. And in that press conference, in the opening remarks, the governor of the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklem, he said that it is reasonable to expect further cuts to their policy rate, even if the bank is taking those decisions one meeting at a time. The next meeting from the Bank of Canada is scheduled for the 24th of July. And so we do expect to see an announcement on that day, and likely we will see another interest rate decrease of another 0.25%. Capital Economics is an economic think tank that I subscribe to. They are very, very good, and they have indicated that they expect the rate to drop all the way to 4%, which is 0.75% more after today's rate drop before the end of the year, with one of those three remaining cuts happening on July 24th. The reasons that we are seeing these interest rate decreases now, as opposed to perhaps a little bit later, there was some uncertainty in the market. A few specific reasons were listed in the bank's press release today. One of those is the employment growth. They do say, well, companies are still hiring, and that's a good thing. The rate of hiring is slower than the rate of the population increase of working-aged individuals. What that really means is our inbound immigration, or teenagers turning old enough to count, is happening faster than new jobs are being created. So we're actually seeing a decrease in the employment rates in Canada. So a decrease in employment is a negative thing. Negative indicators suggest the need for the Bank of Canada to try to help to spur the economy. Further, GDP is coming in under the estimates from before. And our neighbors to the south, that impacts our mortgage rates here in Canada more than almost anything else, because at a ratio of 10-1, they're just so much bigger than us. And in the United States, their economy is also growing slower than expected. And when that happens, it lowers their 10-year bond yield rates. And that has a direct impact on Canada's 5-year fixed interest rates. Just yesterday, we saw some downward movement on those rates as a result of the U.S. economic output information that's just come out. Finally, what are we going to expect looking forward? Well, we are going to likely continue to see these interest rates drop, both on the variable side from the Bank of Canada, and then over time, we'll likely see more of the same thing in the fixed rate market as well. As that happens, history tells us that home prices tend to trend upward. And so we can expect some continued heat in the housing sector, as well as some decreasing interest rates. So that's basically what we saw today here, Jay.
Interesting. I guess probably the average consumer is thinking like, right on, dropped a 0.25%. I'm going to be able to buy more house, but that doesn't sound like that's the case. Hey.
No, not really, because nobody's been taking the variable rates while the Bank of Canada rate's been as high as it is. The variable rate mortgages, new ones are coming in over 6%. And since most of our borrowers are taking fixed rates closer to 5%, those are going to likely remain unchanged over the coming weeks. And so anybody with a pre-approval, fantastic, you've got it. We're not likely to see upward pressure on those. So that's good. If you didn't get one already, we'll likely still be able to get those low rates over the coming weeks, but we're not likely to see downward movement on the fixed rates in the next couple of weeks. After a few more rate drops, that would then make me think we're going to see some further downward movement in the bond rates as well. And that would have an impact on the fixed mortgage rates.
Interesting. So all in all, I guess there's a little bit of positive news if you're a buyer. If you have bought a house and you're on a variable rate, this is a start of something good for you. I'd say hopefully we're going to get some more rate cuts, and that's going to make it a little easier on your pocketbook every month. Anyway, hope you found all this very useful. Again, reach out to us if you need help with your pre-approval or with buying and or selling your home. We do this every week as well. So click the little bell, subscribe, like it, and we can't wait to see you next time.
Thank you.